Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the English Learning Podcast, where we help you improve your English skills with fun and practical conversations. I'm Jason, your host, and today we have our amazing co-host, Julia, with us. Hey, Julia.
Hey Jason! Hi everyone! I'm super excited about today's topic because I think it's something every English learner needs to hear.
Absolutely. Today, we're talking about confidence first, fluency next. Many English learners believe they need to be fluent before they can speak with confidence, but the truth is, it's actually the other way around.
Yes, confidence comes first, and fluency follows naturally. When you have confidence, you're not afraid to make mistakes, and that's when real learning happens.
Exactly. And in today's episode, we're going to break it all down for you. We'll talk about why confidence is more important than fluency in the beginning, how to overcome fear of speaking, and simple ways to boost your confidence today.
And I'll also share a quick personal story. You know, Jason, when I first started learning a new language, I was so afraid to speak. I thought I had to be perfect. But then I realized that confidence is what actually helped me improve.
That's such a great point, Julia. So, if you've ever hesitated to speak English because you think you're not good enough yet, this episode is for you. Stay with us, because we're going to give you some powerful tips to change your mindset and start speaking English with confidence today.
Yes, and before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're new here so you never miss an episode. Also, leave us a comment. What's your biggest challenge when it comes to speaking English?
All right, let's get started. Confidence first, fluency next. All right, now that we've set the stage, let's dive into the big question. What does confidence first, fluency next really mean?
Great question, Jason. A lot of English learners believe that they need to be fluent first, and then they will feel confident speaking, but actually, it's the other way around.
Yes, let's think about it. Fluency means you can speak smoothly without hesitation. But how can you reach fluency if you're too scared to even speak?
Exactly. If you don't have confidence, you won't practice speaking, and if you don't practice, you won't improve. It's like a cycle. Confidence helps you speak more, and speaking more helps you become fluent.
That's such an important point. Let me ask you this, Julia. Have you ever met someone who wasn't fluent but still spoke with confidence?
Oh, absolutely. I know learners who make grammar mistakes, but they speak with so much confidence that people understand them easily. On the other hand, I've met advanced learners who know a lot of English but are too nervous to speak. That's the difference confidence makes.
That's so true. Confidence isn't about speaking perfectly. It's about being comfortable expressing yourself even if you make mistakes.
Right. And here's something interesting. When you speak with confidence, people focus more on what you're saying rather than how perfect your grammar is.
Exactly. Imagine two learners. One speaks perfect English but hesitates and mumbles, while the other makes mistakes but speaks with energy and clarity. Who do you think people will understand better?
The second one, confidence makes communication so much easier. It's not about being perfect, it's about being understood.
That's a great way to put it. So, to all our listeners, if you've been waiting until you're fluent to start speaking, stop waiting. Start with confidence, and fluency will follow naturally.
Yes, and in the next part of the podcast, we'll talk about why confidence matters so much when learning English. So stay with us.
All right, now that we understand why confidence should come before fluency, let's talk about why confidence matters so much when learning to speak English.
Yes, confidence is the key to actually using the English you already know. You might have studied grammar and vocabulary, but if you don't believe in yourself, you'll struggle to speak.
That's so true. I've seen learners who know a lot of English but are too afraid to speak because they think they'll make mistakes. And on the other hand, I've seen people with basic English who communicate easily because they don't let fear stop them.
Exactly. Here's something interesting. Our mindset affects how we speak. If you constantly think, I will make mistakes, you'll hesitate. But if you think I'm learning and it's okay to make mistakes, you'll speak more freely.
That's a great point. In fact, research shows that when we feel nervous, our brain doesn't function as well. When you're stressed, you forget words, you freeze, and you can't speak clearly.
Oh, I've experienced that. There was a time when I was learning French, and I was so afraid of making mistakes that I just stayed quiet. But when I finally decided to speak with confidence, I realized that people understood me, even if my grammar wasn't perfect.
That's such a great example. And the truth is, native speakers don't expect you to be perfect. They appreciate your effort. It's all about communication, not perfection.
Yes. Let me ask our listeners, have you ever held back from speaking because you were afraid of being wrong? If yes, you're not alone. But remember, confidence makes a huge difference in how you sound and how people respond to you.
That's why one of the best things you can do is to change your mindset. Instead of thinking, I will make a mistake, start thinking, every mistake helps me improve.
And here's the good news: confidence is something you can build. In the next part of the podcast, we'll talk about how to overcome the fear of speaking and some simple strategies to help you feel more confident when you speak English.
Yes! So, stay with us. We have some great tips coming up. All right. Now that we understand why confidence is so important, let's talk about something that holds many learners back: the fear of speaking. Julia, why do you think so many people are afraid to speak English?
Great question, Jason. I think it comes down to three main fears: fear of making mistakes, fear of being judged, and fear of not being understood.
Yes, those are the biggest ones. Let's break them down and talk about how to overcome each one.
Sure, let's start with the fear of making mistakes. Many learners think they need to speak perfectly, but that's just not true. Jason, do native speakers speak perfectly all the time?
Not at all. Even native speakers make grammar mistakes, forget words, or say and when they speak. The key is that they don't let those mistakes stop them.
Exactly. So if you're afraid of making mistakes, remind yourself, mistakes are a natural part of learning. Every mistake is a step toward fluency.
That's such a great mindset shift. Now, what about the fear of being judged? A lot of learners worry that people will laugh at their accent or grammar.
I totally understand that fear, but the truth is, most people are kind and supportive. Think about it. If you meet someone learning your language, would you laugh at them or would you try to help?
Right. Most people admire your effort, not your mistakes. And honestly, people care more about what you're saying than how perfectly you say it.
Exactly. So instead of thinking, what if people judge me? Try thinking, what if people actually appreciate my effort? That small shift in thinking can make a big difference.
I love that. Now, the last fear, the fear of not being understood. Many learners hesitate to speak because they think, what if people don't understand me?
That's a real fear. But here's the thing: communication is about more than just words. If someone doesn't understand you, you can repeat yourself, use gestures, or rephrase what you're saying.
Exactly. And let's be honest, sometimes even native speakers don't understand each other. The key is to stay calm and try again.
Yes, and the more you practice, the more people will understand you. So don't be afraid to try.
Great tips, Julia. Now, to all our listeners, if fear has been stopping you from speaking English, it's time to let it go. Confidence comes from action, not from waiting to be perfect.
Yes, and in the next section, we'll share some simple exercises that you can use to build confidence and start speaking English today.
So, stay with us. We have some exciting practical tips coming up. Now that we've talked about overcoming fear, let's get into something really important: how to build confidence in speaking English. Julia, what's the first step learners can take?
Great question, Jason. The first step is to start speaking every day, even if it's just a little. You don't need a perfect sentence, just say something in English daily. It could be speaking to yourself, talking to a friend, or even recording your voice.
I love that speaking out loud helps your brain get used to forming sentences. And don't worry about mistakes. Just focus on getting comfortable using English.
Exactly, the second step is practice shadowing. Have you heard of shadowing, Jason?
Yes, it's a great technique where you listen to a native speaker and repeat what they say as quickly as possible. It helps improve pronunciation, rhythm, and confidence.
Right. So find a short podcast, YouTube video, or even a movie scene and repeat what you hear. It makes you sound more natural over time.
That's such a powerful tip. Okay, here's another step. Use positive self-talk. Instead of saying, "My English is bad," say, "I'm improving every day." Changing the way you talk to yourself can boost your confidence.
I love that. Our thoughts affect our actions. If you tell yourself you can do it, you will start believing it.
Exactly. Another great step is to practice speaking with real people. Join a language exchange, speak to an online tutor, or just have small conversations in English whenever you can.
Yes, and remember it's okay to start small. Even ordering coffee in English or greeting someone in English is great practice.
Absolutely! And one final step: have fun with English. Watch movies, listen to music, and talk about topics you enjoy. The more enjoyable it is, the more confident you'll become.
That's such a great point. So, to all our listeners, try these steps, speak daily, practice shadowing, use positive self talk, talk to real people, and make English fun. These small actions will boost your confidence fast.
Yes, and in the next part, we'll talk about real-life success stories of learners who built their confidence and started speaking English fluently. So stay with us. All right, we've talked about building confidence, and now let's connect it to fluency. Many learners believe fluency comes first, but in reality, fluency is a byproduct of confidence. Julia, what do we mean by that?
It means that when you feel confident enough to speak, fluency naturally improves over time. You don't need to be fluent to start speaking. You need to start speaking to become fluent.
Exactly. Think about a baby learning to talk. They don't wait until they can say full sentences perfectly. They just try, make mistakes, and keep going. That's how they become fluent.
Yes, and the same applies to English learners. When you stop worrying about mistakes and just communicate with confidence, your fluency starts developing without you even realizing it.
That's so true. The more you speak, the easier it becomes. Confidence gives you the courage to speak, and the more you speak, the more fluent you become. It's a natural process.
Exactly. So, to all our listeners, don't wait for fluency to start speaking. Speak with confidence now, and fluency will follow.
Yes. And up next, we'll share some final motivation and key takeaways to help you apply what you've learned today. Stay with us. Wow, what a great conversation today. Before we wrap up, let's leave our listeners with some final tips and motivation to help them build confidence and fluency.
Yes, first remember that confidence comes before fluency. Don't wait to be perfect. Just start speaking, and fluency will come naturally.
Absolutely. And second, mistakes are your best teachers. Instead of feeling embarrassed, See every mistake as progress. The more mistakes you make, the faster you learn.
I love that. And another tip, make English part of your daily life. Even 5 minutes of speaking, listening, or thinking in English every day will help you improve over time.
That's so true. And here's one more: believe in yourself. The only difference between someone who speaks English fluently and someone who doesn't is practice and confidence. You can do this.
Yes, if you keep going, one day you'll look back and realize how much you've improved. Just take one step at a time.
And on that note, we want to challenge you: start speaking today. Talk to yourself, record your voice, or have a short conversation with someone in English. And on that note, we want to challenge you: start speaking today. Talk to yourself, record your voice, or have a short conversation with someone in English.
You've got this. Believe in yourself, stay confident, and keep speaking.
That's a perfect way to end. Thank you all for joining us today. Keep practicing, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye, everyone. Keep speaking with confidence.